Hi, let's talk about the best trap spell in the game, Wish. Even though it's a trap, it's the best spell in the entire game. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where you're gonna watch this entire video. That's my wish. I'm gonna start off this video with a bit of a speedrun. The green part here is the best spell in the entire game. What it allows you to do is duplicate any other spell of 8th level or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements in this spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect. That's not normal casting time. So for example, if you cast Hollow through Wish, which normally takes 24 hours to cast, it's instead an instant cast. Same with entire buildings, like you can just plop down a Temple of the Gods as an action instantly. You can get a Simulacrum by your side instantly without material cost. You've doubled your power then as an action. You can clone yourself with the clone spell, which makes death for you irrelevant. You'll come back eventually after death. You can clone all your friends. Anyways, you get the point. The big red box here is the trap. It's trying to get you to do something so you can't cast the best spell in the game anymore. So for the red box, here's what I recommend you do. Make your Simulacrum cast the Wish spell to take advantage of it. If it loses Wish, you don't lose the Wish. You are not the Simulacrum. Congratulations, you now know how to win the game in Tier 4. By the way, look, it's World Anvil. It's been a while. World Anvil is the perfect DMing tool that will train you in creative writing, while at the same time help you create your own campaign for D&D. There's tons of guides, videos, and a dedicated community that loves storytelling. World Anvil is amazing at organizing your session notes, files, lore, maps, everything really. You have no idea how important organization really is for DMing. There's tons of DMs who get lost in their own information they made, which is really embarrassing while DMing. It's happened to me a lot. World Anvil teaches you how to organize, which is one of the most important things you have to get right as a DM for good game flow. Not only will you become a better DM, but it will also shave off your game preparation because you'll be DMing with confidence. You know what you're doing and you know where to look. I highly recommend checking out World Anvil. You're going to learn a lot about DMing there. It's a fantastic tool for creative writing. Use the code PACK at the checkout and you'll get a 51% off any yearly subscription. Back to the video. Before we get into spells again, I want to mention something odd about Wish itself not needing components. Unfortunately, it fails to account for some spells that do not consume a costly component and use this component for further points described in the spell's description. So for example, Clone. The spell normally requires a vessel to be cast. However, due to us casting Wish, this no longer is the case. So what happens now? I don't know. I assume the components spawn with you, but that's not what it says. So you're gonna have to ask your DM what happens. Anyways, that aside, let's talk about the spells. My friends from Tabletop Builds have already made an article about the spells. So we're gonna go off their list. Link in the description. Let's first talk about Downtime Spells. With Wish, you can accomplish almost anything with Downtime. There will be some that are useful in combat here, and of course rest casting. Also keep in mind, and this involves adventuring though. If you end your adventuring day without casting the 9th level spell, then cast Wish and just do something. That 9th level spell slot should be used every single day. And lastly, if it wasn't obvious, you can absolutely shatter any game with this spell. I'm going to be pointing out a lot of the broken stuff, like planar binding is such an obvious one. I don't know if I'll get into infinite simulacrums, but whatever. There's just a billion ways to do this. We can be here forever. Now let's begin. Clone. We talked about this before. You can slowly make all your party members immortal. Obviously, you should store the clones in a safe area. If you can't think of a safe area, then put them in a demiplane. Find Greater Steed. This is a great way to add mobility to yourself and your party members, and add some creatures that can soak damage in combat. If you simulacrum yourself, the steed also gets simulacrumed. The mount I recommend above all is Dragonels. I love them. They're my favorites. Then Griffin or Pegasus. Next, find Familiar. You might be playing a sorcerer who never got the opportunity to pick up the spell. This is one way to do it. I know it kind of sounds silly, but, you know, whatever. Create Homunculus. Same as Find Familiar. It's a better minion. It has infinite telepathic range too. Next, Magic Jar. That's one of the insane ones. This is the most complicated spell in the entire game. Basically, you take over someone's body completely as your own. There's too much to talk about here, so I recommend watching this video instead. Link in the description. Planar Binding. You can make an army and easily make people serve you for 180 days. They'll be your mind slaves. And it gets better. You can true polymorph them into whatever you want. If they're high enough CR, you can turn them into adult silver dragons who have stun breath that lasts 10 rounds. I am really not joking when I say, once you get Wish, you've won the game. Next, Plane Shit. It's the best teleport in the game. All you need is a name. If you want to teleport in the current plane you're in, I recommend stepping into Rope Trick, which is another plane, and then teleporting from there to like Baldur's Gate or whatever. Next, Resurrection. You know what it does. Glyph of Warding. The main use of this spell is placing them at strategic locations, like portable places like Genie's Vessel, Bag of Holding, or Demiplane spell. When you trigger the glyph, you can then activate the spells that are stored in it, which is going to give you and your allies the desired spell effects without using any spell slots or concentration. I really should make a video about it, but I don't feel like doing it. I still haven't made a Find Familiar one, believe it or not. Anyways, Symbol. This is a landmine. Notably, Stunning, Insanity, and Hopelessness are the staple choices. There is some tech with this spell where you can make them portable, but let's not get into that. I have a feeling you guys are going to argue with me. Next, Base Building. This is just general. I mentioned this before. There are spells in the game that can summon buildings or something that helps with base building. And for some of these spells, you can make them permanent if you cast them at the same spot for a year. These are Galder's Tower, Teleport Circle, Druid Grove, Temple of the Gods, and Mighty Fortress. Also, for some buildings like spells, I don't think they're bad choices in combat either, because you can provide cover for the party. Even something as small as Tiny Hut can default kill more than half the game. In order for the enemies to breach the Tiny Hut, they need to cast 3rd level spells or higher, which a lot of them don't have. Now for combat spells, Antipathy Sympathy affects up to 200 feet cube, which is massive. It has 2 different effects. For the first, you can force creatures to make a save for Frightened, without a repeat save. If they get 60 feet away or lose sight of the target, it ends. But they're gonna get frightened again when they see it or get close. The other use forces creatures to clump up and make them unable to move away. That makes it really easy for your party to set up some area of effects. While out of combat, you can instead place the effect on an object and carry it around. Since the spell lasts 10 whole days, you can make multiple items for each creature type. You keep the items covered up, and when you need it, you just pull it out. Next, Dark Star. And this is the coolest Dunamancy spell too. And yes, you can cast Dunamancy spells with Wish. This spell is a black hole. The area is difficult terrain, it blocks sight, and can stop spells from being cast with verbal components. It has a huge radius and a far range, and damages anyone inside. This will ruin any enemy spellcaster's day, and it's fantastic to combine it with Force Cage to microwave. Another thing is casters won't be able to dispel Darkstar when they're in the spell. That requires verbal components. Next, Druid Grove. You can blanket the battlefield with hostile effects that only affects your enemies. And this is in a massive area, up to 90 foot cube. The fog is going to give you guys advantage while they have disadvantage. This is basically a non-concentration version of Fog Cloud, Sleet Storm, and Plant Growth put together. You additionally get 2 more effects which aren't as strong, but they can still be great in combat. Additionally, if an enemy spellcaster were to try to use Dispel Magic, they can only dispel one of the effects at a time. Sadly, this spell only works outside or underground areas, but whatever. Next, and this is something I remember just now, Prayer of Healing. Your party can now short rest in combat. That means everyone gets their short rest resources back, Warlocks gets their pack slots, everyone can roll hit dice in combat to heal, and so on. Next, Hollow. Crazy spell. 60-foot radius, celestials, elementals, fae, fiend, and undead can't enter the area, which basically transforms the area into a giant anti-life shell. Additionally, you guys can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by these creatures when they're in the area. You also get to choose a second effect, with the big gun options being energy protection, energy vulnerability, fear, and even silence. I expect most of you guys are going to go for vulnerability to do tons and tons and tons and tons of damage. And then use silence for spellcasters. Anyways, another thing you can do is permanently banish enemies using banishment or maze. Because the thing is, they can't return to the space they left. Hollow won't let them. That means they're stuck on the plane they've been banished to. I think I forgot to mention this in the Divine Intervention video, but now you know. Next, Mirage Arcane. You can just edit the whole battlefield layouts. Make lava pools and mazes and stuff. Up to you. This is probably the second best illusion spell in the game. Forbiddance. People abuse it. I've abused it. You create a ward up to 40,000 square feet on floor space with a height of 30 feet. This ward blocks magical travel into the area and damages creature types of your choice every time they enter the area for the first time on their turn or start their turn there. You can also make sure your friends don't take damage with a password. Same with Hollow, you can permanently remove enemies with banish and stuff. I've seen this spell a lot. It's really annoying, but it's a crazy good spell. Next, Mordenkainen's Private Sanctum. You have a bit more control over what exactly this area does than Forbiddance, but it can also block magical travel. The standout here is it blocks divination sensors, and creatures inside can't be targeted by divination spells. Same as Hollow and Forbiddance, you can permanently remove enemies with this. Next, Temple of the Gods. This spell basically creates a box on the battlefield that enemies have difficulty entering. Creatures of your chosen type first need to make a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC, and if they fail, they can't enter the temple for 24 hours. Again, with tons of other stuff I've mentioned so far, you can default kill. This is similar to Forbiddance and Mordenkainen's Private Sanctum, with the key differences being that it can block travel beyond just teleportation and planar travel, but it has a fail chance. If creatures do enter it, they get a minus 1d4 penalty to attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. It also has a handy divination blocking effect. And lastly, it augments healing spells like good berries and stuff. Next, Force Cage. This is super obvious. No safe shutdown. It's the Wall of Force's bigger brother. Next is Maze, another really obvious one. Now for rest casting. As stated before, you should cast 9th level spells every single day. If you have no idea what rest casting is, check out this video. First up is Aid. 35 HP to 3 creatures is not too shabby. Even in tier 4, this is pretty good. Hero's Feast. It comes with a lot of good buffs for the entire day. Simulacrum. This more than doubles your power. You can make a copy of yourself. There's obviously way more to this spell, but let's not get into the weeds here. Everyone's heard the stories. And lastly, Animal Shapes. Combined with summons, pets, find familiar, animate dead, tiny servants, and so on, you can turn that army into CR4 beasts, like elephants for 24 hours. They actually removed the concentration from the spell in 5.5, which is an insane boost. Anyways, you get the point. That's basically all the spells. You're now caught up with the entire Wish meta. That's all the best spells for the green box. As for the red part, I'm leaving it up to you and the DM really. I've shown you how to work around the gamble. One of the best listed options here is wishing for permanent resistances, like BPS is generally the best one every single time. Even at this level, BPS is always relevant. Kobold, have you cast a spell before? Yes, a few times, but not with the red box. The furthest I've seen anyone push is immunity to bludgeon, and it came from the guy who wrote the Tabletop Builds article. Dang!
Dang, you guys are boring.
Yeah, I wish I had better stories and something clever to say, but I don't. I've gotten to this level many times, but we've had gentlemen's agreement not to take it too far, which I recommend every DM do, because obviously this can absolutely ruin tables. Anyways, end of video. Remember to check out World Anvil, it's like going to the gym. You'll have a good time creating your own world. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!